You know, when you see these two teams fighting each other and each one doing goals on the other, it is a form of fun warfare, and people take the frustrations out and have a good time there. But when we look at what has been going on over the last 2 days, yesterday the 5th of November, and today the 6th, it was reported that 5 British troops were shot and killed yesterday in Afghanistan, and 13 American troops were shot and killed in America. You know, it's a tragedy, and it was at Fort Hood in America. You know, the Americans do report the 30 that were injured as well, besides the 13 killed. And I should imagine, just looking at those proportions, if we had 5 British troops, we probably had about 6 or 7 that were injured or more. I'm not terribly sure, but it was not reported. You know, this is all hide it away from the people. They had to report the deaths, but not reporting the injuries. And it's just hide it away. One's got to get a proportion of this thing. If, according to some experts that have been on television today, that since 9/11 nothing has ever come out of Afghanistan, we never were attacked from Afghanistan. We're apparently there for some mysterious reason, which, once again, the truth is not being told. And quite frankly, you know, when it comes to our leaders at the present moment, you know, the question is, how do you know they're lying? And the answer is when their lips are moving. It has really got to that point. You know, when you look at how we've been sort of frog marched against our will, and that's about 75% of the people in the polls that I have seen do not want to be part of Europe, then, you know, and all the lies, deceit, and hiding and treachery. I call it treachery. You know, when you look at this, and I'm not the only one. The newspapers had the headline treachery. You know, so I'm reporting only what the newspapers are reporting. All our countries are in absolute uproar, and it is all happening quietly, and people are getting angry and more frustrated about the situation that is going on. And to my way of thinking, we can't continue. They've got to clear the air in this country, especially over Europe. And, you know, Cameron's welshing on his words like Brown welshed on his words and Blair welshed on his. I mean, Blair was asked twice in the Parliament at the dispatch box, Mr. Blair, will we have a referendum in Europe? And he said yes. Then on the opposition bench, the man got him and said, Mr. Blair, just to clarify my thinking, if every nation in Europe turned down the constitution, would we get a referendum? And he said yes. But that was before the election. When the election came on, we were not allowed to talk about it because they kept on saying, well, that's for the referendum every time we refer to Europe. We've got to talk about the bread and butter, which is what people are wanting to hear about. We can talk about that later on, the referendum. Then, of course, straight after that, we never had the referendum, so we had, once again, we were muzzled, effectively muzzled by this. And all the way along the line, we're being muzzled. You can't get the press to talk about it. When did you ever hear Cameron, as a leader of the opposition, get up and say to Brown, why do you need more money when 95% of the budget is unaccounted for according to the auditors? Now, when you an auditor, for those people who don't know, an auditor takes all the receipts like this, and the receipts, and he goes through them and he ticks them against entries, and he checks the whole thing out to see that everything balances, and the money's come out the bank balance, and it's all checked out along the way. If it isn't there, if the receipts aren't there, he will not sign the books off, and that's what they haven't done for Europe for the last 14 years. So it's not me that's saying this, it's the auditors there. I'm just the reporter. And we are paying in 40 million a day. That's 14 billion a year. That's 196 billion we've paid over the last 14 years. 95% of which is unaccounted for by according to the auditors. We haven't even heard the 15th year. We should have heard about the 15th year. But we haven't heard about that so far. I'm sure that's going to be hidden because of what's going on. And now, of course, we've been handed into this thing. And now Cameron says, oh, well, you know, because it's been done and the thief has stolen our rights and everything else, we can't do anything about it, we must leave him with it, which is an unacceptable situation, absolutely unacceptable for the British people. I would honestly like to suggest that you people, all the British people, write, phone, email, and go and visit your MP and tell him that. Tell him it's unacceptable, that they've taken all our rights on, this is the list that appeared in the Mail on the 5th, foreign policy, criminal justice, sovereignty, labour laws, transport, defence and immigration. What is there left? So when he says, well, he will not allow any more treaties to go out of Europe to Europe like that, well, that's like trying to say, well, you know, we'll close the stable door, the horse is bolted. That's what's happened. And he's not going to do anything about it. He said, well, we'll try and renegotiate. That is a lot of nonsense. I mean, that's like saying also, well, Hitler's got all the big armies, he's got all the things, he's got us out of Europe, and now we're on defensive. Maybe we should surrender. That's a good idea. Let's surrender. Yet our gutsy leaders and people got up and fought, and with the Americans eventually joining us, we managed to destroy that monster. And that is what the Europe is. It's a corrupt monster. They've passed 200,000 laws. Over 200,000 laws, actually, none of which can be read or can be understood literally by the average person. And certainly MEPs didn't have time to read it, because I know men who talked to MEPs and they said, well, you know, it was a good idea, and I asked him, but I had no time to read it, and he said it was a good idea. And that's a way to actually pass laws. And that is how our MEPs have apparently voted for these things. And our MPs just sit there and rubber stamp them because they think the MEPs have checked it, apparently. So it's we've been hogtied into a slave situation to laws that we should not have. And we had laws that we gave to an empire that still run them and think they're very good. What on earth are we doing, submerging ourselves into Europe? Meanwhile, the world is going ahead and Europe is tying us down with untold regulations that we don't need. Untold regulations, human rights acts that, you know, you can call the Criminal Rights Act, because they just seem to release criminals. That's what it is. And just goes on and on and on, you know, until in the end there's no end to it. We started off apparently with 10 commandments, and people think they're complicated. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, you know, honor thy father and mother. These were the sort of things that were 10 only, and we could have run our lives by very well. Now we've got not just 200, we've got all the British laws and the local laws. I don't think anybody, there's no lawyer in this country knows it all. Yet they'll say, you're supposed to know those laws. Isn't that what caused the American Revolution? Isn't this what caused the problem in the first place in America, when George III passed laws that were not representative? Thank you very much.